Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Seras from Addict Gaming. Today I'll be covering an exciting new build I've been working with for the past few weeks. The build is a sword longbow build for the warrior. It focuses on dealing heavy condition damage through bleeds, burning, torment, while having high survivability through hots, condition removal, condition immunity, some high toughness, and stun break and stability as well. I've really enjoyed running this build as it's amazingly sturdy and maneuverable while also retaining a high damage output. I hope you will all enjoy the build as well. Alright, with the intro out of the way, it's time to move on to the traits and stats. The stats I'm after for the set are Rabid stats, which are precision, toughness, and condition damage. As you can see here, the majority of my items are running those stats, with the exception of the Ancient Carcass Shell, which I have there because I don't have any decent accessory for that slot yet, but planning to replace it. The runes I'm running are superior runes of the undead, as they perfectly provide the stats I'm after, with a nice bonus to condition damage at the 6-piece bonus. On my swords, I am running a superior sigil of strength and a superior sigil of corruption. On the longbow, I will be running a superior sigil of earth. As you can see here, I've got high armor, toughness, precision, and condition damage with this build, which is exactly what we need. Now that we have the stats out of the way, let's move on to the skills. First up, we have the Healing Signet. In this build, Healing Signet will heal for around 404 HP per second due to the recent buff given to it. Having additional healing power only provides a small boost to it, so it means that we can invest more points into toughness to make those points that we are healing with it worth more than if we had actually put healing power to get more healing out of it. I try not to use the active as it's still very weak, but if you're in dire straits, you might as well use it. The first utility we want is Berserker Stance. Berserker Stance was also another skill that was recently changed. It now features a duration of 8 seconds and provides us with immunity to conditions. During this time, it periodically increases your adrenaline as well, which is fantastic for our build. It means that we can use our longbow burst finishes and our sword burst finishes as well to help maintain our burning stacks with the longbow and bleed and immobilize with the sword. The second utility and signet we run in this build is the Signet of Stamina. Signet of Stamina provides us with an additional 50% endurance regeneration on top of having an active effect which cleanses all conditions. It's great having it for more dodges, and if we're out of condition cleanses and our immunities are down, then they blast us with just a whole ton of conditions. We can use this as an emergency cleanse to just remove all the conditions we've got on us and buy us time for our other condition cleanses and immunities to come back up. For our third utility, we'll be using Dolak Signet. Dolak Signet provides us with a passive 180 toughness while it hasn't been used. If we get stunned, we can activate it as a stun breaker, and it will also give us some stability so we can't be stunned again, which will then in turn help us in dealing with CC spamming classes in this build. When fighting those heavy CC spamming builds, we can utilize the balance stance against them. If we use it to replace the Berserker stance against builds such as the Skullcracker one that's currently going around, we can negate their 50% bonus chance against stun targets for a total of 16 seconds, which is a huge amount of time to be fighting. For our elite, we will mainly be using the Signet of Rage. Signet of Rage provides us with a nice passive adrenaline gain during combat, and its active effect gives us some long duration buffs for the fight. And with that, we've covered our non-weapon skills, so now it's time to move on to the traits. For our traits, we go 30 into arms, 20 into defense, and 20 into discipline. For our first minor trait in arms, we are given precise strikes. Due to our high precision from Rabid stat gear, we'll be critting a lot with this build, so precise strikes will be giving us many opportunities to trigger some bleeds, especially with our multi-hit abilities such as Flurry, Combustive Shot, and Fan of Fire. For our 10-point major into arms, we'll be selecting Deep Cuts. Deep Cuts provides us with a 50% increased condition duration on bleeds. because our weapon sets already have long duration bleeds on them, this just makes them even longer, so that if you're fighting against a low HP class, such as a thief, they have to cleanse or heal when they take some of those bleeds, otherwise it can potentially just kill them outright by themselves. The second minor trait in the arms tree is critical burst. This gives us a 10% increased crit chance on our burst skills, which are flurry and combustive shot. This trait synergizes well with our build because our burst skills are multi-hit abilities, which means that precise strikes will trigger more often as we've got a higher crit chance. For our 20-point major, we'll be using Opportunist. Opportunist grants us 10 seconds of flurry whenever we immobilize a target. As we have 2 skills that immobilize, we'll be able to trigger this very often, therefore granting us a very high duration uptime on Fury, when we combine this with Signet of Rage. The third minor trait in arms is Attack of Opportunity. This minor trait provides us with 10% extra damage against bleeding targets, which basically is everyone who we're going to be hitting with this build. While not being that helpful as we're doing mostly condition damage, it provides a nice bonus for a trait, and will always be active for us. For our Grandmaster trait in arms, we will be choosing Furious. Furious is an amazing trait for us because it grants us triple adrenaline on our critical hits. With our very high crit chance, we'll be getting adrenaline very often, so we can use our burst skills more often as well, and also because our burst skills are multi-hit, we'll be getting more adrenaline back, so it's a self-feeding cycle. Overall, it's a very vital trait for our build. That's it for arms. Let's now move on to our defense trait line. The first minor trait in the defensive tree is Thick Skin. This trait provides us with defense while we have over 90% HP. While it's not the biggest trait, it's a welcome addition as it helps us in absorbing any opening direct damage strikes. The 10-point major trait we will be taking for the defensive line is Dogged March. Dogged March was changed a few patches ago to provide a reduction in movement impairing effects, and it also gives some regeneration. This trait works well for us as it gives us more heals per second and we suffer less from those movement impairing conditions. Our next minor for the defensive traits is Adrenal Health. Adrenal Health provides us with a nice bit of free healing as we raise our adrenal bar. It's a fantastic trait to have as a minor trait, as you normally don't get very good traits with minor traits. The trait we will be taking in the defensive tree is Cleansing Ire. Because we're going to be using our burst skills very often, this trait becomes our bread and butter condition removal skill. Not only does it cleanse 3 conditions at max adrenaline, but it also provides us with even more adrenaline, as every time we get hit with this trait on, we are gaining an extra strike of adrenaline. Now for our last trait line to cover. The first minor we get in the discipline line is Versatile Rage. Versatile Rage provides us with 5 strikes of adrenaline every time we weapon swap, which is fantastic for us, as we will be weapon swapping often in this build to make the most out of our burst finishes and our skills on both weapon sets. Next up we have Signet Mastery. Signet Mastery reduces the cooldowns on our signets by 20%, which is awesome because we'll be utilizing 3 out of our 4 signets for their active effects. Now for our final minor and major traits. The last minor trait we will use in this build is Fast Hands. With the need to utilize both burst finishes and weapon set skills being so high, this trait is beautiful as it allows us to change to the other weapon every 5 seconds. For our last major, we will be taking Warrior Sprint. This skill grants us 25% faster movement speed when using melee weapons. By using this skill, we're still able to catch up with most ranged targets, even if our swiftness from Signet of Rage expires or is stripped from us. It also means that when we're out of combat, we don't have to exhaust our Signet of Rage just to move around the map quicker. With our traits done, all in all, you can see that our traits work very well together, they synergize quite well, and even our minor traits are all useful for us. With the traits done, it's time to demonstrate a bit of what the build can do while I go over the weapon skills we use for this build. Okay, so with the sword we have the burst skill Flurry, which will place a bleed on the target for each swing, while it will also place an immobilize on the target during the initial application of the skill. We then have the auto attack chain, which puts some nice bleeds on up to 3 targets at once, while also providing a cripple to keep the enemy within range. Our number 2 skill, Savage Leap, will allow us to catch up to our targets as it's a leap finisher with a decent amount of distance covered by it. If you land the actual strike part of Savage Leap, you will also apply a 3-second cripple, allowing you more time to open up with some additional melee skills. Our number 3, Final Thrust, does some powerful direct damage if you can land it, and it does 50% extra damage if they are under 50% HP. Since you're in a conditioned build, you should only use this if the enemy is very low, so it has a higher chance of dealing enough damage to down your opponent. Our number 4 skill, Impale, throws a sword at the target, which applies stacks of torments over time. Try not to use the secondary skill Rip, as we are not a power build, so this will only do minimal damage. The sword itself, though, is a major projectile finisher, so if you cast it when you're in your fire field from combustive shot, you'll also apply some additional burning to the target. Our final skill for the sword is Riposte. Thanks to a recent change, the skill will now not break on missile damage, so it's useful for closing the gap between any ranged foes. It will also stack 4 very long duration bleeds on enemies that strike you within melee range. For our longbow, we have the burst finisher Combustive Shot. Combustive Shot creates a massive fire field on the ground that applies both burning and deals direct damage as well. It's a fantastic skill and you should take advantage of it as often as you can. You can use it to create sort of a deadly arena around you when fighting someone in one-on-one combat, making it very hard for your opponent to stay within melee range of you. Our basic auto attack skill, Dual Shot, fires 2 arrows at an opponent, which are both combo finishes. While the trait Stronger Bowstrings would be nice to take as it makes them both 100% combo finishes, we just can't do that as that'll cripple our build. Because it fires 2 arrows, we can get upwards of 6 strikes of adrenaline each time we fire, if both arrows crit, and also they have their own chance of applying our superior Rune of Earth and our Precise Strikes minor trait. Our number 2 skill, Fan of Fire, fires out 3 piercing arrows that set the target on fire. It's best used at point blank range, so all 3 arrows hit your target and apply upwards of 6 seconds of burning. Number 3 on the longbow is Arcing Arrow. It does direct damage in an AoE blast. If we combine this with Combustive Shot, we will also gain extra might stacks. Our number 4 for longbow is Smoldering Arrow that provides us with an AoE blind. With blind being a condition, this can also be used as condition removal bait. Our final skill for the longbow is Pin Down, which provides us with a massive 6 stacks of long duration bleeds on the target while also immobilizing and piercing the target. This is one of the most powerful skills on the longbow for our condition build. Right, so all in all, our build does some great condition damage, has decent survivability, and traits that synergize really well. I hope you all enjoyed the build video and thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.